Hey there guys, this is Warmaster Ben here, and in this video we'll be showing you how to paint the Blood God Realm base texture. Now for an example of that, it's right here. Got all of this lovely blood effect all over a nice stony grey base. So yeah, the paints you'll need for this are astral granite debris. Can you see that camera? Oh well. Astral granite debris, blood for the blood god, Abaddon black, storm vermin fur, dawnstone, and celestial grey. So yeah, let's hop right into it. So for the first thing, you're going to want to grab a texture brush, or a basing brush, which has got these two ends. One end which is a much smaller thing, and the other end which is a much more wider and flatter thing. And you want to grab your astral granite debris and just put this all over the base. Just get a big scoop up and just grab your base and just go right onto there, just all over. And to create the blood pools, all you need to do is just switch sides and just do a little circle like that on the base. And it instantly creates this little pool where you can then put your blood for the blood god later on. So yeah, I'm going to continue with doing this. Actually, before I do, a quick little tip is if you get your stuff to go over the edge a little bit, you can literally, like that, you can either scoop it back over, or you can just run your thumb around the edge to clean it up. Now in fact, it's probably easier to do without the painting handle, so you can get rid of that. But yeah, just do all that, and I'll come to you guys with the next step. Okay, so while you're waiting for that to dry, and that takes roughly 40 minutes to an hour to dry most times, what you can do while you're waiting is grab some dawnstone and a small basing brush and find any rocks, or if there's bones and stuff, paint the bones. Just get your paint, thin it down a little bit. You don't want it to be too thin, else you'll have to go over it about 12 times. In some cases, not an exaggeration. But yeah, I want to be thin enough that like you go over it again, it will still look good. But yeah, I'm just going around painting the stone or any rocks or anything on your model, just making sure you get it all painted. The only thing with this is you'll get lots of the texture paint on your brush, and what you do when that happens is as soon as it gets in the brush, just wash it off in your paint pot, in your water pot, whatever. Just clean your brush instantly if you get any of the texture on your brush, because it can absolutely destroy brushes. Yeah. Now that that's done, I'm not sure how well you guys can see it, but now that that's done, you have to wait for them to both dry, and we'll move on to painting the rock a little more. Okay, so after your storm vermin fur has died, you're going to need to grab some Agrex Earthshade. I apologise for not mentioning this earlier, but grab some Agrex Earthshade, give it a little shake, and just get some on the brush and put it all over the rock. Now you can put some on your palette just to reduce the amount on your brush as well, which can help quite a bit, just to reduce pooling and overuse of paint. But you just sort of smother the rook in it, just enough, apologies, just enough that it adds a tiny bit more shade and detail to the miniature. Makes it pop that a little bit more. And don't worry about the actual texture paint itself, because for me that's still drying, but also it's dark enough as it is, and once we dry brush the other colours on, it will look great either way. So yeah, I'm going to get back to you guys once that's dried after about 30 minutes. So yeah, and we'll start with the next colour. Okay, so now that the Agrex wash has dried, we're going to grab a dry brush, and we're going to dry brush over all of the base with some Storm Vermin fur, just to add a little bit more detail to it. Now, with dry brush, you need to grab your bristle, grab the paint in the brush, and just sort of work the paint into the bristles enough that it'll, there won't be a ridiculous amount there, but there'll be enough that there'll still get some texture off it. So for example, if I come around here now, drops that, it just adds a slight highlight to all of that. And over the entire base as well. So it's a very slight difference in tone to all of that. Makes it stand out that a little bit more. When you are working your paint into your brush, you need to really work it in, because otherwise it's not going to work. But also when you're done, you need to wash out thoroughly to ensure that you don't ruin the brush at the same time. Because though it's a dry brush and it is sort of supposed to be a bit messy, the actual brush itself, that is, you don't want to keep your brushes for as long as possible, just to save money and time. And brushes, yeah, simple, quick dry brush around all of the base like that. And usually get a little bit more detail on that. It's not very easy to see from there, but like I said, camera difficulties. I'll try and show you what I've done so far. Zooming in. Yeah, that's probably about the best you're going to get, is that. So yeah, now that dry brush is done, we're going to grab Dawnstone and dry brush with that, because dry brushing takes like no time to actually dry, because it's, well, a dry brush. As soon as you've finished it, it's done basically. So dry brushing over the entire miniature with, well, not the miniature itself, just over the entire base with this again, but keeping it slightly lighter over the actual base itself, but and on the rock as well. Just to kind of keep the contrast between the slightly darker and slightly more raised areas. So yeah. Once you've done that, you repeat the same process with the Celestra Grey, only picking up on the highest parts of the model once you get to that point, of the base even, not the model. Now, I say it's a bit of a difficult camera position for you guys to see, because the lens I have doesn't quite work with fine detail and being up close, because if I've got it this close, you can barely see anything, and the focus doesn't close in anymore, it just blurs out. If I show you, it gets more blurry. So I'll try different camera positions and different lenses, but I feel like this is the best lens after testing several others. So yeah. For the final dry brush, we're going to grab our Celestra Grey and do the exact same thing as going over the entire base, but once again sticking to the slightly more raised areas to create the illusion of picking up light. Just being careful not to get too much on the actual model itself as well, get a reasonable amount on the rock, and a lot where there is actually texture, but like I said, not a ridiculous amount, because also won't create the right effect. So as you can see, it's sort of just enough to make it stand out that little bit more, pick out any detail there is on the texture paint. And then once this is done, you're going to want to grab your blood for the blood god now and go back to your basing brush. So yeah, back to your basing brush and grab your blood for the blood god, and then just give a bit of a shake and then get it out and just go straight from the pot to the base to get the most out of your paint. Now you want to look for those circular areas that you created before. So for example here, it's a nice big area where just create a massive and gory pool of blood. And if you want, you can add skulls and things to your bases and layer those in blood as well, if you wish. But I tend to just add a tiny bit of blood to skulls anywhere on bases. Not so it's like completely coated in blood, but so it's enough to make it look a bit more interesting. And yeah, so once you're done with this, then you come along with some Abaddon Black and just go around the edge of the base, which I'll show you guys in a sec. Okay, so once you've finished that and you've let your beloved blood god die, you want to bring out some Abaddon Black and just go around the edge of the base. And now you don't particularly have to thin the paint for this, but it does tend to have a much smoother finish to the base. Now I'm using my small basing brush once again, because it's not particularly like fine detail, but it's big enough to go around the edge. So just going around like this, spinning the model as I go, just to give it a nice sort of matte finish once it's all dried. And once the first layer is dried, you definitely want to go over with the second layer, because as you can see, there's quite a bit of silver showing through. So you want to make sure it's completely black with no bits showing through. And most times, by the time you've got round to the other side, if it's just pure paint, it will have already dried. But since I've thinned it down, I've got to wait a little bit. But usually, just go over once again with some Abaddon Black, and it will turn out as a nice matte black. So yeah, I'll see you guys at the end of the video. Okay, so at the end of all that, you can clearly see that you've got a nice matte finish on the black after putting down a few thin layers down right here. And not only did I put blood on the base of the miniature as well, I also did blood on the actual miniature itself, because I hadn't previously done that. So let's take a bit of a closer look at that. Yeah. As I see, I put blood on the claw on his hand and all over his face. Basically any bone areas, because it stands out the most on those. Whereas with Wild Eaters, for example, I've painted mine red, put red like blood on their armour, it doesn't stand out much, so I do it mainly on the more golden parts of their chain swords and chain axes and bits, for example. Stands out that a little bit more, it makes it a little bit more visible. But yeah, as you can see, your base itself has turned out pretty good, to a point where I'm happy with it. And it's not obviously not like a high tier painting tutorial or way to base there, but it looks good. It's enough for tabletop standard, which is my sort of standard for painting for now. That's why I paint most of my miniatures. There will be some miniatures example, HQs and stuff where I go a little bit more into detail, and I'll see paint tutorials. Yeah, you guys see paint tutorials for certain characters coming up soon, such as Gazkul and Ragnar in the new what's it called, Prophecy of the Wolf. There you go, the new Prophecy of the Wolf kit. But yeah, overall, I'm happy with what I've done for this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And if you did, please leave a like or comment or share it with people that you think will find this useful or interesting. Just, yeah, subscribe as well, please. Subscribe, guys. I'll see you in the next video, which... well, the next video I'm planning on doing is... not really sure. What comes to mind, I'll show you. But yeah, as I said, hope you guys liked it. I'll see you in the next one.